Hi, welcome to another episode of Nature Pal Chats, a program that encourages nature, study, and learning about God's creation. I'm Andy Gould.
I'm Allison Bravenick.
I'm Shannon Kelly.
And I'm Christy Cox. Welcome back. We're so happy that you've joined us again. Today, we're going to be talking about instilling wonder and the wonder of nature within our children. And John Muir has an awesome quote. He says, "When we tug at a single thing in nature, we find it attached to the rest of the world." And I just love that so much because it just starts with something little. And as we continue to just inspire our children and dive into nature, we see that the whole world opens in front of our eyes. So let's get to talking about how we inspire our kids to get into nature. And Shannon, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I can say, like, for me, it all started with my parents. I think if we show our children how much we enjoy being out in nature and we're out and we're getting in there and exploring with them, it really encourages them to want to learn and know more. When I was younger, my dad loved being outside, and we lived in an area that backed up to a national forest, which is more hilly, like in ravines and different things like that. So he would take us out hiking all the time, my brother and I. And while we were out, he'd always be pointing out places where we could find lizards and snakes. And so he'd always be turning over boards and looking under rocks and catching snakes and lizards for us. And so even now, to this day, when I'm out hiking with my kids and I see like an old board on the ground or a rock pile, my thoughts immediately go to, there's probably a snake there. We can go find lizards there. It's just something my dad instilled in me. And it was always like, what are we going to find next? What's going to be around that next corner? And it was just this mystery in nature, like, let's go turn over some rocks, let's go wade through that creek. And so I feel like now I try to do that with my own children so that they just have this desire to be exploring and looking and finding and learning all the time while we're out.
Yeah, I think as you were talking, and Mom, I hope you're not watching this, but but I was just sent out to play. You know, like we had an amazing backyard that had a wooded area and lots of moss and just a variety of stuff. So I was just like, go out to play, that kind of thing. So that's how I was introduced, I guess, into nature, is just, and also reading, like the books we talked about, some of the books from our last episode. And I think reading was a huge inspiration for me as a child, to just get lost in my imagination and kind of play out what I was reading in my backyard.
Yeah, we're reading Secret Garden, like we talked about before, and it like the mystery of like what flowers are going to bloom next, and just like their little secret place that they had to go to. And it, like with one of the boys in the story, he hadn't even seen the garden yet, but just hearing about it, his imagination started going, and he was imagining what this garden would look like, so that when he actually saw it, he was so happy and excited. And literature can definitely do that for us.
Yeah. What about you, Andy?
When I was young, I didn't have a whole lot of examples set before me. My mom loved gardening, but that was really the only thing that my parents were outside doing for the most part, was gardening. So my brother and I would play outside, we'd have fun and do stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot of exploration outdoors. And as I got older, I stopped spending more and more time outside unless I was working in the garden with my mom. And I love gardening. It's one of my favorite hobbies to do. So that was definitely something that has stayed with me. And as an adult, as a mother, I have started basically introducing myself into nature along with my children, that we're just exploring, we're just wondering. And I think that's one of the best things, to just simply say, I wonder what that is. And it shows your children that you don't know, that you're learning too. And it just gives everybody that community together as a family, that you're learning and discovering together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like so neat to learn together, where it's not just you're telling your kids, oh, that's that and that's that. Just like you said, Andy, like, I don't know what that is. Let's figure it out. Let's get out our field guide. Let's look it up, and figuring things out together and learning together is really, I think, could encourage that. Like when we go places, like if you go to the same places over and over and you see the same plants and the same insects or flowers, whatever it is, and just each time you go looking for a different one, and then the next time you go you see that one that you learned last time, and so you can point it out and it's something to get excited about, and then learn more and more things in that area.
I think too, and I've had a mom ask me like about this before this topic, and I said, you have to be the example for your children. If you want your child to do something, you can't just, sure, you can say, hey, I want you to go do, go find something outside. Well, they're just going to stand there and be like, whatever. They're not going to care as much. But if they see you as just leading the pack, I guess, and being the one like doing it, they're going to want to join in because they're going to be like, wow, my mom is having fun. This is really cool. And they'll just follow suit. So a lot of times it's just you being the example and not even saying anything, just sometimes just going out and looking, and they'll be like, what are you looking at? And it's just really cool to see how you create this bond, of this love of nature together. It's really special. What about you, Allison? How do you instill wonder?
Well, thinking about everything you guys said, I didn't have a childhood that got me out in nature or gave me a love for that. And even up into being an adult, I wouldn't have considered myself somebody who, like, I loved the beach, but I didn't really go explore other places or go hiking or anything. And I started doing it for my kids, and I thought, I'm going to do this for them. At the time when I started, I had 3 boys. So I was like, this will be great for them. And it is, but it's also opened up something in me that I didn't even know was there. So me doing it for them taught me so much about myself and how much more there is to God's creation. And like, I love the beach. That's kind of my place. But now I love exploring other places and going on some random adventure somewhere I've never been. And when I first started and I joined a nature group and there were like different hikes set up, I felt really nervous. Like, I don't really know how to do this. I've never been to that place. I don't, know what to bring really. And I just did it, and you just have to be brave. And then I started learning what I should have, but I started wanting to do it more because it opened up something in my heart and a wonder in me as an adult that I didn't even know was there. And I learned from my kids. There's a great quote I read too in the Charlotte Mason Companion that says, the dandelions are not new, but the children are, as they are seeing things for the first time. And I love that one because taking them and just walking around and exploring for them, I see them notice the littlest things, and then it opens my eyes to it again, which it could have been something I would have ignored on my own.
I know my son finds the best things. Like whenever I hear him tell me like, Mom, look what I found, I get so excited because he always finds the funnest things for us on our hikes because he's always looking at things that I walked right past,
Yeah.
So they find the best.
I think coming from, you mentioned God's creation, and coming from the standpoint of a believer, our pastor said this past Sunday in his sermon that nature is the revelation of God's glory. My husband was making fun of me because he's like, when he said that, you're like, yes. But it is so true. Like, as a believer, when we get out into nature and we just start exploring and discovering, we see the hand of God and just how awesome and how creative he is, and how, everything, he just didn't create something like beautiful out on the surface, but just the way that he designed everything and the science behind it and the intricacies, it's just so amazing. And I think as believers, when you see that, you just want more, you feel such a closeness to the Lord, and you just want to learn more and just see be close to him, because it is truly, nature is, is the revelation of his glory.
I have that verse written down too, right under that dandelion quote. It's Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. And you do instill a wonder in nature, but then I think that redirects us to the creator, and then it gives us a wonder for God. And we look at like a wildflower and you could study it and its different parts, and then you realize like this tiny flower, there's no way that could happen by accident. That's been specifically designed by our creator, and how awesome is he?
I'm gonna promote that website I was just talking to you guys about. If you're a biblical creationist and you want to know more about creation, there's this website I just found. It's called creation.com, and it's amazing. They go from all through Genesis, and they just explain away evolution. And I've only been on it once, but I was on it for hours, because you just get caught up in it. You want to watch the next video and the next video, because science is behind Christianity. And so when you, like, these people that have studied and studied and studied, and they give us their knowledge like on these websites, like, I just want to soak it all in. Like, it's just amazing what the Lord has done for us. He didn't have to give us this beautiful world. Like, we could have just had this plain, simple world, but he gave us waterfalls and beautiful skies and fluffy clouds and beautiful wildflowers. I mean, what a blessing that he's given us, that we get to explore and enjoy all of our lives.
You guys, I'm tearing up.
Yeah, I read another great quote. The Charlotte Mason Companion has a lot of great ones on this, but it's pretty much saying the natural world is the expression of God's personality. And when you're in nature, it's like you're walking in his artwork, and you're getting to know him and what he loves and how he cares about the tiny specific details. And then you realize he cares about you the same way, and it just connects you in so many ways.
Andy?
No, I think it's all so great. It's amazing. We could go on and on all day, I think, just finding more quotes and finding more scripture that just pushes us more into wanting to discover for ourselves and to instill wonder in our children.
All right, you guys, thank you for listening again today. You can check us out on Instagram at Nature Pal Exchange. You can go to our blog, naturepalexchange.com, and we'd love it if you'd hashtag your pictures to Nature Pal Exchange so that we can see how you're instilling wonder in your children and your families. See you next time.
Sayonara.